not get a
Hold
lick
on.
of sleep. Oh, there we go.
Hello, Governor.
Hey, what's going down, champ?
What's going on, man? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, man. I'm happy to be here, brother. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
it was
I am
it was
too.
touch and go. Listen, this is how I know you an OG and you're a really good friend. I didn't get no sleep last night. None. I text you at like 4 a.m. my time. I'm like, bro, it's a tight situation. Why your ass up too?
Yeah. Yep. I
I'm
just
like,
type back.
How are
I
you
just type
up?
back. Cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool.
I'm happy to be here, man. That's
Yeah,
good.
I am too, man. I don't know. It's just something about insomnia. Plus, man, I felt like today is going to be one of those days. So, like, today's live stream was something important I want to talk about. Like, we've had a bunch of important topics to talk about, but I just felt like the revelation we had a few weeks ago when we watched Sinners,
Yeah.
and then after watching the latest issue of latest episode of Doctor Who, the story in the engine, I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? It might not to other people, but those two things tied together to me, and I was like, you know, there is power in our words. There is something about telling a story, and we need to talk about it. So that's why we're here today.
Okay. All right, man. I think it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I thought you know, the thing is, you know, you had already dropped the reaction that we did for the Doctor Who season 2, episode 5, which is titled "The Story in the Engine." Just this morning, I finally was able. I wanted to make sure I dropped it before we went into the live stream today, so I dropped my media therapy deep dive, and I called it "The Power of Words." And I think it's one of the better ones that I've done. I don't know. I think I'm finally starting to feel like I'm coming into my own. You know, the strange thing is,
Yeah.
I told this story at the beginning of the deep dive, how when I was in high school, my senior year, I had a creative writing teacher.
Okay.
I would just, even though I was an ace in math class, my math teacher hated me because my math teacher, my social studies couldn't stand me.
Okay.
Even though those are my two best subjects. They couldn't stand me because at that point, I needed some serious therapy, and I took a lot of things for granted. And hell, I barely came to school. I came to school long enough. The rule was you had to be in school half the day to go to practice. So I usually showed up to school about the back half of the day so I could go to practice. And the math class, social studies class was in the morning, and I missed it all the time. But then when I did show up to class, you know, I come in and get an A, and they'd be like, how the hell, what, you know, as adults, as people do that, you know, wasted potential, and you're just out here doing blah, blah. Shut up. I don't want to hear none of that shit. But my creative writing teacher, for whatever reason, she loved my ass. And she's like, you got so much potential. She called somebody she knew and got me a scholarship, got me an internship to be a writer for Disney, to go to the Disney park in Orlando Disney World, and be a writer.
Okay.
Yeah, I declined that shit.
Oh.
I have no idea where my life would be but I didn't see any value in my words and the little stories I tell. I just be saying shit. You know, I didn't get it back then. I didn't want to do that. Hell, I wanted to play ball. Like, I'm going to the pros. What you talking about? You know, I'm gonna be a famous rapper. What you talking about? Tell no damn stories. I want to write Cinderella. I don't care about that shit. But even as we progress, like even when I became a teacher, You know, one of my subjects was social studies. And one of the reasons why my class was interesting is because I told stories. You want to know about Greek mythology? I got you. Let me tell you these stories. You want to know about the Egyptian deities? Don't worry, I got you. You know, whatever it was, I told the stories that made it relevant, that made it see it. Very much kind of the same as in the story in the engine. When they sat in the chair and they start telling the stories, you could see it on the little screen
Right.
in the window. And anyone who is a good storyteller can do that. That's why books are so important. I know people don't read like they should anymore, but any good book, that little window to the barbershop, that's right here. Here's your window. And if you're reading a good book and the words are popping off the page, you can see it. And that's why we get blown away when you go to the movies and you see the first time you saw Lord of the Rings. He was like, I've read this story. It looks exactly like I thought it was going to look. You know, and any good story is really like that. I'm sorry, I'm just running off the mouth.
Nah, I'm taking notes. Go ahead.
So I actually, because I wanted to be proper, today.
Okay.
I took some notes. This is the first time I've done this. You know, usually I just turn on the camera and start talking.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good thing. That's my way. Maybe it's not. Today I wanted to be a little bit more guided. So I took some notes. So here's my comparison and why we're comparing these two things. So in Doctor Who, the story in the engine literally shows how narratives can alter reality and bring beings into existence.
Okay.
Words have a tangible, almost magical power. Now, in Sinners, that might explore how powerful narratives, whether they're told by individuals, institutions, or the media, can shape public perception, justify actions, and create lasting reputations or stigmas, you know, legacies.
Okay.
And specifically, if you look at it, this is how someone could be labeled a sinner and how that narrative dictates their life and how they're remembered. Because in Sinners, really, the story circles, as much as we want to think it's about Smoke and Stack, it's not. It's about Sammy, you know, and the way his father labeled him and what he was doing with music. And that shaped his life. And then all the other events with everything else, you know, the empires removed, you know, shaped his life. You know, there's a thing about having an intentional versus an unintentional legacy. I wore this shirt today for our deep dive, which, you know, you probably see me wear it before, but this is my grandmother, Geraldine Curtis Johnson, who passed in 2022.
Okay.
At the young age of 102 years old.
My God. Whew, she got some
was born
serious
in
longevity in your family.
Yes, she was. And the thing is, in the 3 years since she's passed, it's not like our families fell apart, but our families fell apart. She was a wealth of knowledge, and she was really the backbone to our family. Every time I got an opportunity before her Alzheimer's got kind of bad, I spent time with my grandmother because she would just talk. That's what she did. She would stay in the kitchen, or when she could, she'd be in the kitchen cooking. As always, you hungry, baby? Yeah. And she would cook me breakfast all the time. I eat breakfast morning, noon, night, doesn't matter.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
She would make me breakfast and tell me stories, and I would ask a bunch of questions because I wanted to know. Like in Doctor Who, the barber's intent was to create stories because they powered the engine.
Right.
But the legacy is the literal creation of life. As we got to understand who the barber really was and his relationship to the gods, it was the actual creation of life. Okay. The doctor ends up having to deal with the unintended consequences of these stories and what these stories meant, even where he had to shut down the barber's nefarious plans because he intended to take everything that's been built in these stories and the connection to the gods, the gods, and destroy it. And the doctor was like, nah, bro, because if you destroy the gods, you destroy man themselves. In Sinners, the characters actively tried to build a specific legacy. Like Smoke and Stack were trying to build a legacy, really just to be free, which that's a whole different deep dive in itself.
Okay.
But through that specific legacy, they were interested in doing it through power, influence, or acts of defiance, or actually all three of those. While others might have a legacy thrust upon them by the narratives that others create about them. And that was part of Sammy's deal in that, and even Delta Slim had, part of that. So I just, I want us to discuss this for a few minutes before we let the other folks in. I see Frank and Sherelle in the wings waiting to jump on in. So I did want to give you a chance before I pushed on a little bit. I know I tried to, my mind was jumbled this morning, so I sent you my notes and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, let me, at least we were on the same page.
Yeah, the importance of storytelling. There is something interesting in the Doctor Who episode that we watched. What was it called? The Story in the Engine, about stealing a culture story to fuel some other nefarious purpose. We're kind of seeing that. We're kind of seeing that now. Actually, I know I'm about to piss some people off. I don't care. So we see what our president is kind of doing what's going on in South Africa. He's literally stealing a narrative of genocide and saying that these group of people are being hunted down and destroyed. He stole a narrative and he's fueling it for a nefarious end in order to allow these people to come into the country, and people that are literally dealing with running for their lives to leave bad situations in order to survive. Other groups of people that don't look like them, who have that story, are being denied. So that to me is an interesting contrast. The theft of stories in order to destroy something. I like what we're doing with the whole idea of Sinners too. Brilliant movie, and the idea of building your own legacy, but at what cost? And I think each character in Sinners represents one of the 7 deadly sins. I'm sure maybe y'all have kind of maybe seen some of that going passed around.
Yeah.
Sloth, envy, pride, wrath. I can't remember all of them.
Yeah.
But the thing, yeah. And the thing about when you're building your legacy, you have to be careful about what you allow into your spirit, into your home, into your culture, to tear it down. Because when you do build something, you're going to be tested. And we saw all these individual people being tested, their story being tested. Smoke and Stack can be easily compared to with pride or greed and even wrath. Delta Slim, his story with gluttony, because he's drinking and carrying on every moment. Mary with lust. The big one, what you said, is Sammy, who's kind of like sloth. He's dealing with the sin of sloth because he's not stepping into his purpose. And if you fall victim to any of these 7 vices, something is going to knock on your door, and if you let that in, it's going to destroy it. At least that's what I was pulling from Sinners. And the thing is, what was interesting about those vampires in Sinners is that you have to invite them in. They'll pop up, and just like with regular folks in your life, you're going to have things that are going to pop up and distract you. That's just how the world works. But the question is, what are you going to allow into your safe space? You said Smoke and Stack are looking for freedom. That's the story that they're trying to build, but they're building this legacy off of the backs of bloodshed. Like, don't get it twisted. I like Smoke and Stack. They're awesome to look at, but they're gangsters. They're bootleggers. They probably got bodies. And you're building legacy off of that. That's tough. I'm not I mean, don't get me wrong. Like it's cool. Like the Kennedys made their fortune off of bootlegging. You know, the Rockefellers and the Carnegies and all this. They build legacies off of blood. Like it's not a pretty thing. But you know, if you try to ignore the fact that what it is, it kind of like takes something away. You know, the country's built on blood and horrible things that have happened, and you do yourself a disjustice to turn a blind eye to it. And if not, you're gonna let that evil in and allow it to happen again. I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but those are two of the things that I was taking off regarding the building of legacy, which I love the idea that you brought in. Building a legacy through story, because everybody is their own narrator, and the taking away of legacy or the destruction of a people by stealing story and what you see in the story in the engine. I thought that was really good, Rakai. Thank you. That's a cool little setup. I never really sat in process until you sent me that little list like 10 minutes ago, and I was like, oh, we're gonna have a conversation.
Yeah, every now and then I'm just a tad bit, a little bit past shallow, just a little bit deep. So
I just saw. Hold on, can I just have one? One small little thing. I just saw something today that made me smile. I know it's probably gonna piss people off again, but I don't care. One of them old Southern antebellum plantations burned down yesterday, and it's a spot where people go to have destination weddings and stuff, and people want to get married in these old Southern plantation houses with the columns and the cotton fields in the back. And to talk about what you're saying regarding the story in the engine, you are literally stealing a story, spraying perfume on this turd, and taking wedding nuptials in a place where people were destroyed. People were it's the craziest thing. And I was looking in the comment section, and it's two very different stories. It's one side, it was, oh my God, our history is being destroyed and it can't be replaced, and it's such a beautiful piece of history. And then you got black folks, boy, getting the we don't need no water. Let that mother sucker burn. Burn, mother.
Got their boots on the ground.
Two totally different stories that are being told. One is candy coated, and the other one is real. And that was a place of destruction.
You know, the interesting thing about that is why are two stories being told, and before I go off on a tangent, that's our fault. It's the country's fault because we allow this to be done. Most of us don't know enough about our history to recount that and tell it to our children, and we allow them to tell us whatever. I've said this time and time again. History is told by the victors. Whoever wins gets to tell the history. And that's why they're telling the history the way they're telling it. I guarantee you, in the 1940s, if Germany had won, history would be telling us something different.
Oh yeah. That's a fact. Yeah. I agree.
But because they lost, lost badly, as a country, they had to deal with that on how do you get rid of that stigma. Again, legacy. They got rid of it though. So the same way in America, and here's the crazy thing too. The side that we're losing our history, and how dare they lost. They lost. The South, the Confederacy lost. But we welcome them right back in. Come on in, brother. You're one of us, you know. Just change that color from gray, put on this Northern Union blue. And the sad thing is, people go to these places for a destination and take pictures and relive the antebellum South. No one in their right mind would dare go to a concentration camp in Germany, in Poland, somewhere to take pictures.
Can you imagine if somebody had a destination wedding at Auschwitz? Could you imagine? Could you imagine the conversation? But it's the retelling.
And no one would let them. No one would let them do it. I have personally been to Auschwitz.
Yeah.
And it's one of the saddest, worst experiences of my life. I didn't take a single picture. I don't want shit from the gift shop. I don't want a goddamn commemorative keychain. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, here's the thing. It didn't even personally affect me. There's no tie to my people. There's no tie for real to my culture. None of that. And I still was enough of a human to realize this is the worst shit I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And the only thing that probably would be worse that I have not seen is on the western coast of Africa, the Sierra Leone, and the forts that house slaves as they're part of the triangular trade on their way to Europe and to Americas.
Yeah.
That
The point of no return.
I don't even know if and I do know people who have been and seen that, and they talked about somber moment. It's like in real life, you know what I'm saying? Like that moment in Passions of the Christ, it just shut your whole body down. Like this is some, so anyway, listen.
No. I'm with you, man. And this kind of goes into the story, and then the story engine. Like the more you sit and think about it, man, it's really, really well done. Like I loved, like we talked briefly, about how the importance of the barbershop in some communities, not all communities, but in some communities, the barbershop is kind of like the town square in a sense, where information is kind of passed. The community comes and swaps stories. Well, at least the men in the community. I'm sure it's like that. It may be like that as well with the salon as well. And then you have somebody that's taking this center, this safe space over culture can be exchanged, and using that to drive something horrible and deviant. It's really well done. Now I do remember looking at the comments, and there were some people that weren't necessarily happy with it. There was one thing that I didn't know, and here's something. It's like, so apparently there were some people that may have been of Nigerian descent who felt some kind of way about the accents. So maybe there was a bit of a false representation of how that story is being told, because it wasn't truly as authentic as it could have been. Now I don't have the ear to be able to discern that. But even when you're trying your best to even tell the best version of the story, it's still a telephone game. I'm going to tell somebody this one thing, and then when they tell somebody else, a little bit of that truth is going to be lost, and a little bit more of that truth is going to be lost. So whoever those writers were, or the actors, whoever it was that couldn't necessarily convey the authenticity of who those characters are supposed to be, might have lost something. And that is an important part of the story as well, that kind of gets lost. Just a random thing. Go ahead.
Now, here's the thing, and I did read some of the comments too, and I dismissed them because people are going to be mad. People, every time we show up on the stream, people pissed off at something. Okay, do what you do. And especially when we resonate and can see things like, how dare you, they got out the pitchforks and the torches came for you for the Menendez brothers.
Oh yeah.
They was not feeling what we were saying about the acolyte.
No.
And the thing is, we see it from a different lens.
And yes.
It honestly, for us, it's not about race until y'all make it about race. The thing is, and the comments get worse the further you get away from telling a story that people can relate to. And the sad thing is, the world is what it is. We watch all these images in the world, and we watch everybody's story. We watch everybody's story. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I don't know nothing about South Korea, but
we're story hunters, man.
And I watch all these damn stories. I was like, damn, that was excellent.
Yes.
I did not watch a story and like, I don't care, them damn South Koreans and stuff. I don't know nothing about that. That ain't my Dollar General store. Like, I don't give a shit. It was a good story. I don't care who the people was. I don't care if I can't pronounce their names or whatever. It's a great damn story.
Yeah.
And we watch that, and it irks the shit out of me. When people watch a story, it's like, oh, I'm so far taken out of it. I can't relate to human stories. Human stories. People get sad. People get angry. You know what I'm saying? Whatever their motivations, they wild out. You probably can't get mad because what the media has told you about Black people or Mexican people or Asian people or whatever does not correlate, doesn't vibe with what your preconceived notions and your biases. And that's why you're like, I can't watch this. It's human stories. There's a large world out there. Sometimes you need to get out of your own way and go outside your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we were just talking about you. Hey, what's going on, Cypher? What's going on, El Grande? Mark Savoy is in the house. Oh, we are over in there.
The thing I was going to say to your point, because you were talking about people in the comments. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Inua Elems.
Okay.
Is the one who wrote the story. He is Nigerian or of Nigerian descent.
Okay. I was hoping so, right? Yeah.
He is. He's the only writer of the story, not Russell T. Davies. No, he wrote the story.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he's in the episode. When Belinda goes out looking for the doctor.
Yeah.
And she stumbles, she knocks the stuff over in the market.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Who's going to pay for this oil?"
Oh, that was him? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then the police came and, hemmed up Belinda. But the guy who jumped on her first said, "Hey, so you over here knocking over shit. Like, who's going to pay for this?" That was him. That was him. He just wrote himself one line in the story. He did show up. And if you look at most of the actors in the story, I mean, again, Doctor Who is a British production. It is. So there's, just like America, there's just as many people of Nigerian descent in London as you want. You can go back to Top Boy. You can go back to Supercell. There's a whole bunch of shows that are full of British actors of African descent from some country in Africa. So I didn't get bent out of shape about that. Do you want them to tell stories about us or not? You know what I'm saying? I want them to tell our stories. But I can't believe he didn't have nobody got pissed off when Idris Elba was speaking like he was from Baltimore in a wire.
If anything, we were shocked when we found out he was British.
When he started speaking with his British accent, you're like,
it's like, what? Wait a minute, he's not from Baltimore?
Yeah, I thought that brother was from over on, you know what I'm saying? So nobody got upset. So it is what it is. Here's the burden of legacy you were talking about earlier is that sometimes you get trapped in it. And that's kind of what you were talking about earlier, because a powerful narrative can be both creative, but it can also be destructive. It can be a constraint. Sometimes, like you're talking about in Sinners, and I am looking at my notes. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
I want to say what I need to say. Sometimes the characters like Smokestack, Sammy, even Delta Slim, Earlene, all of them, Cornbreads, Monk Ass, even, all of them, you might struggle with the legacy that you inherit or the one that you're trying to escape. The weight of your past actions or societal labels could be a central conflict. You got to look at Annie. Annie said to Smoke, "I don't want your money. Your money comes with blood on it." And he's like, all money's got blood on it. He said, "I've been around the world." He said, and he was in a way belittling her beliefs and her practices at the time. And he was saying, "I've been all around the world. I've seen evil done to people. I've seen people killed in ways I didn't even know that you could do." And he said, the only thing that moves the needle, the only thing that establishes legacy, the only thing that can help us find the freedom, the peace that we want is money. And he said, in order to get money, you might have to do some stuff that you didn't think you would do. Like, even if you hear later in the story, Stack is telling Sammy, or it might have been Smoke was telling him, we went down to a free city in the bayou. We went to a free city. Everything was free. Everything was all black. It was beautiful. Unfortunately, the mayor of the town knew our daddy and knew the kind of evil man that he was, and said that there was no way that evil wasn't passed on to us, and made us leave. We wanted to be free of the legacy that our daddy had. And even though Smoke killed him to kind of stop that generational curse, too late. too late. Because you could say, well, look at their actions. The generational curse was passed on to them. But was it? Would they have been the same people that was if they was never kicked out of that town and had to go out here and get it out the mud on their own? Now we had to go to war and do stuff. Now we didn't end up in Chicago and we doing what they taught us to do. Hell, back at that time, they fighting World War I in order to get a decent job in the military, because they didn't even want you there to begin with. You was on the front line. You was a grunt. And if you had some special skills at doing what you did, that, you got a little bit more recognition, but it's not much. And they took them same skills to Chicago, became gangsters, and became who they became.
Well, they're trying to break a generational curse, right? You feel that?
They were trying to.
They're trying to, right? Yeah. But a generational curse is essentially being trapped in a story.
It is being trapped in a story.
It's your stars kind of already being established for you and being told you can't change this outcome.
But so many cultures, not just ours, have that. I was watching not that long ago. I was watching Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
Oh wow, that's a throwback. Okay, yeah.
Jason Scott Lee, and the thing about it was same thing. When he was a kid, his parents said that there was a generational curse passed down from father to son, and that the demon came to take the sons. And they said they even went as far as dressing him up and gave him a regular name. They dressed him up like a girl so the demon couldn't find him. And when the demon found him, they shipped his ass off to America. No. Maybe the demon won't find you in America. And the thing is, we played with that for years because, he died of a freak accident. And, and the people from his community was like, the demon found him. You know what I'm saying? The generational curse found him. You could say whatever you want. He had this freak, aneurysm, blood vessel burst in his brain. The weirdest thing ever. But then the weird freak accident, the way that his son Brandon died, and that's basically the end of the Lee family line. I mean, he's got his daughter Shannon, but whoever her children will be, or children of whatever her husband's last name is, that, so it's a powerful thing about, trying to have a control over your narrative and your legacy. Because the thing about words, what we keep coming back to, the thing about words is that they have the power to shape our past, our present, and our future.
I think that is what was the importance of what Sammy was. He has the power to shape. He has the power to understand history because he is a vessel of musical history. He's able to get in touch with the ancestors, not just the ancestors of his own culture, but the ancestors of culture, period. That's a power, in the words, in the music. And that's why the Remick, is his name Remick? That's why he wanted to control that. I'm sorry, I cut you off before you were about to.
It was just I think we talked for a few minutes here, so I do want to bring in our wonderful guests. We have Frank and Sherelle waiting for us.
Hey, what is going down? Hello.
Squad.
You'll be happy to know I did my research and watched Sinners last night.
What you think?
Oh, great movie.
Yeah.
Look, see, we still can't convince Sherelle to watch it. She
I
watch it. So
I ain't doing it. I don't even know why you're trying.
I understood the hype within 10 minutes.
It's such a beautiful movie. It's a beautiful horror.
Nope.
I'll say that.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. So I didn't get a chance to send them to you and Frank and Sherelle, but that means we're going to get more authentic answers. So my first talking point is, how do the narratives in the story, in the engine,
Sorry, I was looking at a comment. My bad.
Okay. Okay, that is
Frank
funny.
and Sherelle sound like 80s R&B
duo. Solid.
Frank in the back, sing it like I told you to sing it.
So funny. That's why I had to laugh. I was like, no, I didn't think about that.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, quick. Huge shout out to Giggly Goods. What's up? What's up? Okay.
That is funny. What's up, Leo?
That got me.
That's crazy.
You might have to start that question at the beginning because I think I missed it.
Not even.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
But you took it all the way back to the 80s, not 2000s,
Yeah.
not the 90s.
That's why I laughed.
80s.
I was like, okay.
Mhm. All right. So, how do the narratives in The Story in the Engine and Sinners reflect the real world power of storytelling and shaping our understanding of events and individuals?
Damn, that's a heavy question, boy. I was like, hey, I'm processing it. I
was coming for it.
From Sinners, like you guys pretty much expanded on the gist, but I got an extra layer out of it that wasn't mentioned.
Okay.
When the white vampires were at the door, like, hey, we're all good. We accept your kind. You just got to become one of us. And so it's like they're willing to accept and be progressive, but only if they fit their narrative, their image.
I think you're right, because they said something that I thought was so funny in the movie, and I think it flew over a lot of people's heads. When Smoke asked him, he said, "Y'all in the Klan?" And Remick got pissed. He got in there. Hell no. We in the Klan. He said, no, brother, we're all about equality over here. But to your point, like you said, and even the other the wife of the other dude, Glenn or whatever, that was in the Klan. She said, no, we're going to start a new clan, a clan of love.
Yeah.
Wow.
That shit was so funny because the thing is, you're right. There are, as far as Remick was concerned, even though it was through extreme violence and this demonic nature or whatever is vampirism, he's like, no, I'm going to heal the world. Everybody, we're going to all be together. It's going to be all good. We equality. I don't care if you're black, white, whatever over here. I'm gonna bite your ass. So we all gonna be one. We all gonna be one. Because he even told him, he said, no, little buddy, he's the grand dragon of the clan. Yeah. I'm about to go tune his ass.
Yeah, that was what I was just about to say. He was like, matter of fact, we about to go see dude.
About to go see dude
right now.
He's like, don't get it twisted. Yeah. He's like, let me assure you, race ain't got nothing to do with this.
Which always was a strange thing to me, the vampires. Like, and I guess why you have to build in a weakness for them, or they can't come out in the daytime. So you can gather your wits and, be pissed off until nighttime gets here. Try to figure something out. Because for real, they can't bite everybody, because then who the hell they going to feed on? Yeah. That was weird. We need some work. We need them them Choctaw. Them damn American natives. They came there. They were the worst thing you can do is invite them in your house. Hey, who you think? There's shit, sun's going down. We out.
That was the best part. The old dude behind him on the horse was like, "Hey man, it's not that time." And the dude looked at him. He was like,
"Dude's like,
I'm gonna pray for you."
Yeah,
y'all good luck with that.
You are your own.
I loved it. I was like, "Yo, he gets it."
Hey, he gets it.
We done all we can do for you.
One of the most important things you said, Frank, and one of the things that Syntell said earlier is about the fact that in damn near all vampire stories, you have to invite them in. You welcome your own troubles. You come on in. You bring the trouble into your life. It ain't the other way around. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times people say you go out looking for trouble, and then you got those characters that in all media that say, well, trouble just seems to find them. Reacher. Trouble just seems to find Reacher's big ass. You know what I'm saying? Not that he's half kaiju. Just trouble just seems to find him. James Bond. falls into trouble, usually in some woman's lap. He just falls into it, just shaken, not stirred.
I
just
fell into some coochie and a martini.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Bother.
Hey, man. I forgot my magnums in the glove box.
Ghetto British thing I've ever heard.
Hold on. Mark is all well. Mark said, I was expecting 30 Days a Night type vamps. Remick was a family man like Toretto.
He is on one family today. You were on it.
Somebody get Mark, man.
Okay. Give me your phone.
I'm not mad at that comment.
Go to timeout right now.
Mark does this on a regular. Mark does this on a regular. When Mark shows up to Geek Beast and Binge Worthy on the Geekies Network, this is what Mark does. He is sniper from the comments. He just got the hot ones.
He's not wrong though.
Okay, I'm gonna remember that forever though.
That was funny though. Coochie and a martini though. That is funny. That is funny to me.
And the first face I see is Idris in something like that when I hear a phrase. I see Idris as James Bond. Yep, Black Amber.
James Bond, yeah.
Oh God, that's horrible.
Y'all wild. I can't with y'all. Let's see. Mark did say that he got to admit the Sinners vamps seemed kind of benevolent. They was trying to turn everybody, even in What We Do in the Shadows, which is another excellent show. I didn't finish it, but I did watch a few of them. They were highly selective. Remick was preaching peace, but peace through assimilation. You got to be one of us. Like, if not, we got something for that ass. You know what I'm saying?
He was the Borg. He was the Borg for the most part, except for they was dancing around campfires too. But it was what is it? Resistance is futile.
But the crazy thing is, it's weird too, because it seemed like, and just from the narrative, from watching the story, that as soon as Mary and Stack was in, they went to like the head of the pack. They seem to be like right up under Remick, because the first little the white folks he turned, they was inconsequential anymore. Remick wanted Sammy. Period.
Was aura farming.
Yeah. Remick's like, you give me a little dude with the voice, and we out of here. You know what I'm saying? Give me a little dude with the voice.
Wanted.
Yeah. Because he can call down through the power of song, the power of words, the power of his voice.
Song is storytelling.
He could take us to a time in the past. He could connect us to the past. And that's what he wanted, to connect to his past. However, Stack and Mary, they was thinking about the future, because they definitely wanted Smoke and Annie with them. They care about nobody else. But y'all to be over here on this side. Like, we on that good. Y'all need to be over here on this side.
They weren't having any of that smoke.
That seems to happen a lot in stories where like the bad guy, they see like equality in one person and they're like, we'll take all y'all, but we really want this person.
We want that.
Like, we'll take all y'all because they love you and they're not coming without you, but we really just want this one person.
Yeah. But the thing is, even though while they were fighting to get Sammy, because they were of a hive mind, when Smoke had to take out Annie because he had to fulfill his promise, just because it hurt all of them, but it hurt Mary so damn bad that all of them felt that hurt, and they all flipped out, and they was like, oh, hell no.
No. You said something that I think was kind of interesting. Wait, I'll take it back. You're talking about your grandmother, and how, golly, she'd been around since the 20s. That's wild. And there's a phrase that I've heard my dad say a few times. It's just old heads in general. And he said, when an elder dies, it's like a library burns to the ground.
Yeah.
And you've got somebody that's got that much story in her, 100+ years of the culture of your family name. She saw horse and buggy to landing on the moon to the internet. That's wild. That's crazy. Wow. And when that leaves, it has to have an effect on the family. There's no way it could.
Oh yeah,
that's a pillar. That's the foundation cracking.
It never feels the same.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's.
I learned how to listen from sitting around my papa and his friend, Mr. Hoover.
Mm.
They used to sit on the porch and just tell all the stories, know everybody's business. When they sit, like when people be like, "Oh, men don't gossip," I'd be like, Psh, "Yes, they do." But I was a smart enough kid to sit there and shut up, so I got to sit and listen to everything. The other kids are over here asking questions and stuff, and so they had to go away. But I knew how to sit and not say shit. So, and I got all of it. And when literally when my papa died, shoot, the house didn't even feel the same.
Right.
Like it was not like the family has not felt the same since.
Yeah. It's like my homeboy Hall used to always say we got to start saving recipes. Because the people that make it, once they gone,
see,
the cornbread ain't gonna taste the same. The grits,
that same papa's his sister. Yeah. Her name was my aunt Minnie Pearl. She decided when I was like a senior in high school that she was going to write down all of her like main major recipes for like the graduating girls. And so I still have that folder that she like had somebody like she wrote them down, had somebody print them out and like wrote our names and stuff like that on it. And so I still have that folder with all of those recipes in it. People ask me for them all the time. I'm like, nope, that's mine. Thank you. What you're not going to do is take this recipe. So like she gave us, but I realized that other people don't think about that. Like they don't necessarily think about giving somebody that full, like a list. And some of it is the super old school list where there's no like amounts and things like that. A little dash of this, a little sprinkle of that, a little something. And
a pinch and a pound. Yeah, they just know. They just throw that in there.
The only thing I haven't done is literally laminated some of those pages, but I have them in like page protectors. Like they're all in page protectors because I want to keep it like forever. And some of them are just adorable and funny, things like, Easy Do Pizza. You call the pizza place and have somebody go pick it up and make yourself a drink and sit on the couch, like just little things that she did like that. And I was like, that's my Aunt Minnie Pearl.
Because we live in a digital age and so much of that wisdom from our elders came from a very analog time. We really need to make sure that we digitize as much as you can from their time. Because just like you said, it's like a library burning down. When my grandmother passed, my mother had pretty much kind of given up her own life to taking care of my her mother, taking care of my grandmother. But when she passed, there was almost like a mad dash by some of those people in the family who didn't revere, who didn't care about that anymore. And all they could see was the value. What could they get out of this? Can we take this? Can we sell this to get some money out of to, whatever, fund your gambling, your drug problem, your whatever. You just a greedy asshole. Who knows, And unfortunately, that's not a story that's just representative of some of the folks in my family. That's every family, right? Now, so when you have that type of legacy at your fingertips, you need to protect it as best as you can and things like that. A friend of mine the other day, for whatever reason, I don't take a lot of pictures. Like if I take pictures, I take pictures of other people and other stuff. I don't take a lot of pictures of myself. I don't. I usually I don't give a shit. But then I'll be like upset later. I'll be like, damn it, where was I? Like,
like my mama. My mama's like that. Yeah, she'll never. She's the one that always takes pictures, but she's never in any of the pictures.
Yeah. So a friend of mine, she sent me some pictures that she found somewhere of me from high school, and I was like, oh shit. Hold on, look at me. I showed it to my I showed it to my son. Yeah, my oldest son. He looked and he said, wait. He said, that's you? I was like, yeah, son, I told you. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. 12-pack. Yeah. Ab Central. Like, yeah, I told you, boy. He's like, send those to me right now. He said, yeah. Because he's like, man, the people on my team, they don't believe this or believe that. And I was like, shit, I don't gotta lie. I said, it is what it is. I ain't him. I'm still him, but I ain't him. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just one of those things that I don't have those. I immediately, as soon as those are sent to my phone, I upload them to the cloud. No.
I've got tons like that too, where I'm like, where do you get this? Where is this? Who has this picture?
Yep, I got a little folder in the cloud that I just upload all that type of stuff up. So, like you said, recipes, just stories. I got to the point now where if someone of a elder statesman type generation starts talking to me, hell, I pull out my phone, I start recording. Or, you know what I'm saying? Even just a voice recorder. It don't even got to be video, a voice recorder.
Yeah.
And a story and upload it to the cloud. You know what I'm saying? Label it and upload it. Just because you never know. They have so much effort. Like you said, my grandmother sees so much. 1920. The first cars, 1910, Henry Ford started mass producing the Model T Ford.
Yeah.
She was around for them first cars. What you got to push them and crank the shits or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? The yabba dabba do 'em. I don't know, but she was there.
Yeah, she saw a lot.
She was of that generation where they really thought that by now we'd have hover cars and the George Jetson type shit. Ain't none of that come through. And it's just funny. She couldn't grasp the whole concept of a cell phone, Bluetooth, wireless internet. She couldn't grasp the concept of none of that shit. But she could figure out how to play casino games on her damn iPad. She could figure that shit out. I'm like, Grandmama, you gonna gamble off your whole goddamn pension on this iPad. Like, you supposed to be playing for fun. No, baby. I need some. No, you don't. What you need? Depends. Stop it. Get off that damn app. Get off that app. Like, whew.
I wanted to ask you, Frank Sherrill, regarding the Doctor Who episode that we watched, the story in the engine. Me and Rakai has a great setup question that's regarding, like, your story being taken from you, in a sense. I was wondering if you had any thoughts regarding, like, the story in the engine and the barbershop and the gods and trying to destroy the gods and using story to drive that purpose. Did anything, and then especially from you too. So it's all right if I said, like, you are of Nigerian descent, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yes,
okay. I don't want to blow your spot up. So I'm very curious.
I just never grew up with it, so I don't have those frame of reference like as a kid, but genetically, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Was you genetically? I'm probably Nigerian too. Well, you dig deep enough.
Where it was like, especially when, we used to all be black in America, then they were African American, and I was like, how? Like, I don't I was like, I'm African American because I have an African parent and an American parent, but the rest of y'all black. But the crazy part about it is I'm one of the few kids that would have, like, enjoyed the culture, because I've always wanted to learn about different cultures, learn different languages, and that was like the kid that wasn't included. It's like, really? The other kids are complaining about having to go to e-boot camp in the summer, and you got a kid over here who was like, I could have went to like, nobody invited me to e-boot camp. Like, what? Okay. But
okay, so for those of us that don't know, what is e-boot camp?
Oh, it is basically like for Nigerians in America.
Okay.
It's where they send their children to learn about the culture, learn the language and things like that. Like, so that they learn about the culture because they're not there. Okay. Because they're not born there. They're born as, like American kids. And my cousins were out in California. So, they're like LA kids, but their parents were like, no, you gonna learn. You gonna learn this language. You're gonna learn about our culture. You're gonna learn all those stuff. I just didn't get included in that because my mama married the weird person in the family. Though, because usually, that was one of the things I think that upset me the most, because I was like, Nigerians, like, the whole family is in everybody's business. That's literally like a cultural thing. Everybody knows everybody's business. Everybody is, like, it's the kind of family where, like, if one person gets in trouble, you have 12 cars showing up. Like, I can't believe you would do that to our family. Like, that's how it works.
I'm pretty sure that's not a Nigerian
the one member of the family who didn't include their children. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what? This is ridiculous. The kind of family that I wanted was technically the kind of family I had. I just was not included in it.
You know what? That's really cool that you said that, right? Because the barber in the barbershop, not the one that was stealing the stories.
Omo.
Yeah, but the other one was like, he kind of did that. He kind of leaned on that cultural ideology that you were just talking about. It's like, yo, if somebody's in trouble, we call our family. And he called the doctor.
The whole family.
He literally called the doctor and was like, yo, I am in trouble. But the doctor's Nigerian. He is an alien.
Well, and he didn't warn him ahead of time. I think that's
playing
the
as a
thing that was
Nigerian.
pissed off the most. It's like, hey, you had me come here like it was like we were just gonna hang out and it's a problem and you didn't say anything. You were willing to sacrifice me.
Right. So I'm wondering, is that a cultural disconnect? Between the doctor who's an alien and not Nigerian and not
I think it's mostly because Omo was willing to sacrifice him. He wasn't bringing him in like you would the family for backup. He was willing to sacrifice him. So I think that was the difference. It wasn't like, if he had brought him in and he was like, we're in trouble, we need your help, come help. The doctor would have shown up anyway. I think that's what pissed him off the most because he would have shown up anyway to help. But he was like, hey, come hang out. And since you're technically not family, we're gonna sacrifice you. But that's why I feel like the doctor was the most upset.
Okay. No, I agree with that, but disagree with that a little bit. Okay. Only because the doctor situation, it's through all of these seasons that we watch, the TARDIS do what the TARDIS want to do. The TARDIS take you, where you need to be. Yeah. And the TARDIS knew that Omo was in trouble and took him there. It would be different if the doctor, picked up, the WHO telephone and be like, hold on, Omo, what's going on? Okay, I'm on my way, my boy. Yeah. Like, it wasn't that, He just showed up. The TARDIS took him there. He's surprised that, oh, shit, we in Nigeria, 2019. Oh, it was a good year. I'm going to go see my partner, Omo. He just had a partner there where the TARDIS just happened to take him. Because the TARDIS knew Omo's in trouble. Omo really needs you. Now, I do agree. You're right. He lured the doctor there with his problem, and the doctor felt set up, and he didn't have a chance or didn't even have the desire to tell him, "Hey, get his ass." Get right there. He didn't say nothing. He just like, oh, sit down, get a cut. I don't even come here for cuts.
There was a quick line when the doctor told his first story. Look, he could feed this thing for ages. Let us go.
Now let us go.
Yeah. I think that's when it was like, oh, that's what you doing.
That's what.
That is
that pissed me off, and
Yep.
that's what pissed off the doctor. He's like, look, I told you.
Yeah.
His stories, he got the best stories. It can feed this thing. You can let all of us go, right? For real, bro? That's what we doing?
Yeah, that is a bad look. That's a real bad look. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
back to that. It is a cultural thing. The first time I met one person, I had to meet like half the family. Like that's how it worked. So.
Okay.
Mark is stupid. He's gonna be on one. He said Belinda's trying to get home. The doctor, I'm gonna get ready to go to the barbershop. No one that the TARDIS did his damn hair. He just going to the other room. You know what I'm saying?
She probably could.
Yeah, like the doctor has this thing too. When he goes, it's funny too that they're making a whole production out of it now.
Out of his gear?
But how he gets into his gear. Like, remember in the first season, he would just be, new fit and be like, I hate him looking good. Yeah. But now they got like a whole sequence with the music where he runs in the little tunnel and comes out the other tunnel up top.
I like it. Yeah,
I love that.
I think it's great. It definitely makes him it's a unique thing for this doctor.
This is going to be an OD
the rest of them
cut.
had an outfit and that was it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of old school Superman and Wonder Woman. Remember Wonder Woman? Some shit's going down. Linda Carter, old ass, she would just spin around.
And
the music come on. And she did the Wonder Woman shit. Like,
round and round and go.
It's just like, even where they used to make a big deal when Christopher Reeve was Superman, they made a big deal. He run in the closet. He ran in an actual damn phone booth. And,
and I'm like, how you run in a phone booth and it's made out of glass that you can see? Somebody saw you changing that phone booth.
One, he was like, oh shit, Lois is in trouble because she's always in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, okay, what y'all doing over there? And just fell backwards out of a damn window and changed in the middle of the air and shit.
I remember that. I do remember that. Yeah.
Old school Superman is the type to be like, hey, what's that over there? And then he use that opportunity to change.
I have never understood that. I was like, so you got all these people here with this chiseled jaw and you just going to throw on some glasses and it's like, oh, now we don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Here's the thing that made that so iconic though. And we don't realize that was so iconic that they're like, you know what? That is how you become a superhero. We're going to borrow that. And they did. And now every damn time he gets into one, Tony Stark does that, turn into Iron Man. It's always some elaborate damn way to get it, including falling out of a damn building and turning the Iron Man on the way down.
Yeah. Dr. Strange did it too. In the last one, he falls. He jumps out the window
when he pulled out a handkerchief. That was some flamboyant shit.
Sailor Moon.
Yeah, he landed in the middle of San Francisco. Yes, bitch, I'm ready. Where's the monster? Oh my God. I was like, okay, Dr. Strange.
Slay the monster.
Yes. What is your name? Not Dr. Strange, I'm Dr. Strange.
Lord. They already had the eyeliner on him. So
he's in the multiverse of Mad Yas.
I would like to see them versions of Doctor Strange. That'd be hilarious.
No.
In the multiverse that exists.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
H.T. Teddy says something too, like Christopher Reeve was very good at changing his physicality to disguise himself. Yeah. Which also, it almost makes it, I love how in the DC universe, it was so insulting, like for real. Like he, when he's ready to be Superman, he's like, let me take off my glasses and hold on. I need a little cowlick right here, so you can't tell it's me. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm Clark Kent. And, no one knows. Like
in the comics and all that, like he's tripping over everything. He's a clumsy oaf. They're like, no, even when you're like, it looks exactly like Superman, you're like, there's no way.
Yeah, you look at him and be like, ain't no way this dumbass could be Superman. Like,
but nobody. The funny thing is that no one else did that though. Everybody else was almost exactly the same.
He would also like hunch over and like slouch or whatever. I mean,
try to play himself small. It's like, come on, man, we know.
But I think that's also the time too, because like the actors and things from his generation tend to do more physically with themselves than like actors did later on with those kind of roles.
Now, here's the thing. Since we're talking about the power of words, you know what I'm saying? And also the power of media shaping how we view and go about our own lives. That, even though that's 1978, so we're talking about almost 50 years ago. I think that was important, at least in my lifetime is important. I don't know about people before me, but seeing Superman do that, playing small, you just said that, Syntell, playing small. It made it easy to see if you're gifted, if you're talented, if you're intelligent, a lot of ways to fit in with the other people. You play small. You go to school and, most of the other people, you're around a bunch of dumbasses. So guess what you do? You don't raise your hand to answer all the questions that you know in class that the teachers are asking. You're like, Rakai, what's the answer to this? I know the answer, but I'm like, I don't know. You do dumb shit. You play yourself small, not so that you're not bragging, but it's so that you don't make the other people who are not you feel uncomfortable. Yeah. And a lot of times we have a penchant to dim our light.
Yes.
So that we don't outshine everyone else when sometimes we are easily capable of it. A lot of times you find yourself in a situation, depending on where you're at, your light too damn bright. Somebody else is looking to sniff your light out because, what's our boy, Syntell, what's our boy, Rico? With big ass glasses eating a banana? Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Drop dimes on it. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's very true.
There's always somebody.
If we understand to a certain degree, we understand the power of words. And like in my deep dive, I kind of looked at, I always used to call it the 3 Ps. People who are best with the power words of 3 Ps. Okay. Pimps, pastors, and politicians.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut that and make that into a short.
Oh, God.
Now, I mean, if you think about it for real, pimps, pastors, and politicians, all 3 of them can literally have people hanging off of their words, and they can bend people to their will. And and sometimes you think that you have a benevolent or a good-natured one in each of these, but it's easy to see the inherent evil nature of a pimp because he uses women for whatever his own means or whatever. And then these days people are kind of up and down, hot cold on preachers, pastors or what have you, because some of them are really out here worried about saving your soul, and some of them are only worried about getting as deep into your bank account as possible.
Yep.
And then it's funny how, depending on which one could be in the middle, everyone kind of thinks the pimp is the evil one, he's the worst one. And you might think pastors are in the middle, some good, some bad. And they're probably at the top, which these days I don't see anybody seeing the benevolent politician. Like, hell no.
I've never seen one.
To me, that one was the first one. That's the evil one, the damn politician. Yep. That's the evil one. I put the pimp in the middle or whatever. But
think about what they lord over. You're a pimp lords over your vices. Pastor lords over your passage to God. The politician is lord over the laws that govern your body in this reality. So those are two powerful things.
Yeah, and even Mark says that they're not mutually exclusive fields. Marion Barry
could have been all three.
Yeah, he was all three. Even he's a pastor who's a politician, and he's out there on that crack with had a whole hotel room full of the huzz. So that dude was
got
out
you
there
on camera smoking crack. I was like,
and he's like, man. That ain't me. They said, yes, it is. Okay, well, it is.
Oh no.
So
it was 1982, and he's talking about this AI. Trust me, you'll get it later, but it's AI.
Back to the Future reference. I was like, don't worry about it. Your kids will love it. But how can we be more aware of the narratives? Talking about the power of words, how can we be more aware of the narratives that shape our own lives and the legacies that we are creating? To me, I honestly feel that one of the reasons I do these media therapy deep dives was because I feel that all stories, whether it's a good story or a bad story, is trying to tell you something. Yep. Somebody wrote a story and they was like, you know what, I want to share this with people. Because if not, you just write a story in your little notebook and put that shit on the shelf and go on about your business. But somebody's like, you know what, I'm writing this story, and beyond money and fame, there's like, I want to share this story with people. And especially those people that are like, I think people would get something out of this. That's what we do as content creators. We share with people, and hopefully somebody gets something out of it. You go in the comments and like, I really like this, or somebody is like, I hate y'all suck. Well, okay, well, all right. It's on
Thanks
you.
For the view.
Yeah. Yep.
You watched it anyway, yeah.
Yeah. All we do over here is we aim for the bushes. So thank you.
Oh my God.
But how can we be a little? Everything we watch is not popcorn fare. Turn your brain off and just eat the popcorn and do. How can we use the power of words, the legacies, the stories, the narratives that we consume on a daily basis to make our own lives better?
I think where the story, who's telling the story, I think is very important. Because if I don't know, Stephen King wrote Roots, it'd be a very different story.
I'm gonna spit all over my damn computer. Like,
I'm just saying. It'd be. I think
it would have been It would have been more traumatizing.
You gotta warn me next time. Shit,
it would have been more traumatizing than it already was. Like, oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Toby's Revenge. My name is Toby. No, but I'm just saying. I'm in real talk. Like, if Alex Ellie had to tell that story, somebody that is of the culture. So I think the power of the words is very much depending on who's telling it. And I think in this day and age, and what we're seeing a lot of, especially with what's going on with this this breadth of new ideas and freedom and free thought coming from just women in general, and we don't see as many stories being told by men telling women's tales. Like a perfect example, I've been doing a lot of reactions to Tyler Perry films, and Tyler Perry, of course, he's a man of his generation. He's writing these stories that tell a woman's side of things, but is it as accurate as it could? Because he's a dude, it's a guy telling that story. So in hindsight, when you look at these stories, you look at it and you're like, man, I don't know if you should be doing that. I don't know if you're in the right space to tell this story. I think a woman needs to tell this story.
A little bit different with like Tyler Perry, just because a lot of his stories come from like the women in his family's experiences.
Yeah, but that's just like saying I hang around a bunch of black folks so I can write black folks stories. It's no.
I mean, like what I'm saying is like a lot of it, he would say like he talked to them.
Well, no, but look, I was gonna say maybe. I'm not saying this to drag Tyler Perry down, because in the context of the times, that story had to be told. So he was the person that had to tell it. So I'm not saying that to drag him down. I'm just saying that, now that we know a little bit more of the importance of who the storyteller is going to be, let's just say Tyler Perry is the retelling of the story, to remaster a story or whatever it is. I would personally hope that, he would find somebody that has either gone through those situations.
Yeah.
Or to tell it a little bit more accurately, So that's, I think, is one of the bigger things, is who's telling the story. I sat here and hogged up the pulpit for like a hot second for Kai.
No, you're fine, because as you were saying it, I was thinking about how do we figure that out? Just because, so hear me out on this. This particular story, the story in the engine, was written by Inua Ellams, a Nigerian-born man who told this story that's close to his heart, and he talked about, Lagos. But it came through the lens of Doctor Who, which showrunner, executive producer Russell T. Davies.
No melanin.
Is not, not a melanated man. It came through the BBC, not that concerned about melanated stories. Came through Disney, not concerned about melanated stories at all.
Nope, none.
So do we write off this story because even though the melanated man wrote this story, all of the other levels put this story out there? I don't know how much melanin in there. I don't know if Russell T. Davies said, no, hold on. Here, I have a note. Hold on, let me give you the note, or whatever. I don't know. Does that mean that I
like
can't?
Russell T. Davies was like, they're not gonna let you tell the story anywhere else. Come over here. We got you.
But that goes back to what you were just saying about Tyler Perry. If some other woman had this great story, I want to tell this story about, this time, me and my 3 sisters, I'm gonna call it 4 little girls, and we did this or whatever, and I want you to tell a story. And he's like, yeah, I'll executive produce. Come on over here. Yes, my name's going to be on it because that'll get more eyeballs on your project, but or whatever, just how it rolls over here. You can go see this random horror movie and you go see this Stephen King horror movie. You already know what you're getting. The Stephen King one's over here, and this random one, I might have to get word of mouth to know if it's any good. So Tyler Perry has a built-in audience. You already know what you're going to get. So Tyler Perry presents 4 little girls. But he didn't write it. He executive produced it. He let it, you go out there, here's the resources, you do what you do. How do we know? Because it's very easy to be like, I ain't watching that. Why Tyler Perry putting that shit out? Like, what did he know about being a little girl? What did he know about him and his sisters? He ain't even got no damn sisters. Like, how do we even know? Do we throw out the entire story, or?
Well, if it's either the story just doesn't get told at all, or there's going to be a little bit of culture and accuracy, I'd rather hear the story with a little bit of culture and accuracy than to not get it at all. Like we'll use Tyler Perry for instance. He wrote, Diary of a Mad Black Woman. There's a man writing this. That story still needed to be told. People can maybe sift through the inaccuracies of the storyteller in order to maybe to the heart or the root of the matter, until the culture or the money is in a space where that could be told a lot more accurately. But it's better to at least tell the story and try to tell the best version of it than for it to just be lost to time, for me.
Mark in the comments said that I think Norman Lear had black writers, but his influence would always err on the side of jest. That's the dark side of shows like Good Times and Family Matters. And Mark and Norman Lear has a long list of credits for shows that he was behind. However, because he was a gentleman of an older generation, and maybe he was of that generation, was thinking about making America great again. You're right, to err on the side of jest. In his mind, what he saw of melanated people did not necessarily go with, the type of shows that could be put out. To make one story about George Jefferson, a guy who goes to the Upper East Side, and he's successful. As far as he was concerned, well, there's one, and that's not a true representation of the culture. It's just like, for instance, if you asked any American right now, what are their thoughts about the continent of Africa? I'm not even going to get into how they think that Africa is a country, and everyone, regardless of what country they come from, is African. I'm not even going to do that. We not, and y'all know what I'm talking about.
In Africa that aren't in Africa, stuff like that.
Yeah. Or the ones that are actually in Africa, them people ain't African, like Egyptians. God damn it, it sits right on the corner. Like you. Anyway, if you ask people what do they think about Africa, they will tell you right now about people being barefoot and loincloths, chasing lions in a small village, and nobody's got any water. Everybody's starving. They'll tell you all this old bullshit. And I mean, and they have, say in Botswana, it's damn near modern day Wakanda. They have some of the most technologically advanced cities on the planet. Japan, Korea, China, many cities in Africa right now are off the chain, and they will bust New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, Las Vegas's ass in a moment. It's not even close. But if you ask us, our own people and other people, Americans, what do they think about Africa? They're going to tell you some 1978 version of Roots type shit.
So stupid.
A whole country of slaves just waiting for someone to come and put them in bondage. What the All right, I digress. My bad.
Then there are a lot of people like in Africa that are like, they see the whole trade as differently because people were literally stolen and kidnapped and sold. You know what I mean? People weren't just like, oh, we think we're gonna get a better life rolling over on these boats. There's a whole lot of countries that were like, don't go get on that boat. Or or the people that did was because they were stolen or or kidnapped or whatever. So it's like, wow, okay.
Here's an interesting comment. Michael said, writers write fiction. Fiction is made up. It has no gender, no race, and no religion. It's a dangerous path to go down to. It's a dangerous path to go down to insist writers only write about the lives they've led. That's not fiction.
Okay. The problem with that, the inherent problem in that is because if you write about the life that you've led, do I know that what you're writing is factual? Even though it's based from your point of view, that doesn't make it factual. That means that you can embellish because the story's still a story. I can tell you the beginning, the middle, end of my story, but maybe I don't have a true protagonist. Maybe I don't have a true antagonist. Maybe I don't have a true conflict. I'm just telling you that, hell, we was poor. We ate ramen noodles all the time. Well, who's the bad guy? The man. Well, who is the man? Shit, I don't know. The landlord. So you start to embellish a story. That's why the power of words makes the legend more popular than the truth. We do that. The story is always told by the winner. Nobody want to hear about what's doing American history like Custer, the last stand of Custer. Nobody give a shit about his point of view. You lost, fool. You lost badly. I don't want to hear. You know, in this country right now, anybody who says, yes, my family was tied to the Confederate, let us tell you some wonderful Confederate stories about the glory of the South. You don't shut your ass up. We don't want to hear about losing. Nobody care about that. Nobody care about second place.
To Michael, I think Michael's question is it is a little interesting. It is a little interesting because he's speaking in terms of fiction. And what I find interesting about it is because we just got done watching a fictional story in Doctor Who in the story in the engine, but it's still based in culture. It's still science fiction, but the culture of Nigeria and the culture of that barbershop, it's what's driving the story.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it is fiction, you would do yourself a disservice to not have somebody who is of Nigerian descent, somebody who's lived that life in order to tell this fictional story in Doctor Who. Does that make sense, Michael? I hope that makes sense. Now, if you're just talking about, you writing about Jedi in a galaxy far, far away, then yeah, you're not really depicting a real religion or a real race or a culture. But even then, there's still going to be some cultural bias. Because there's some people that if you were to bring in a Skywalker that looked like they were from, South India, they'd probably look at you kind of crazy. That's not my Skywalker. So, but the culture of who wrote, the Skywalkers is, it's a Kansas farm boy in a galaxy far, far away, white boy. So your culture is still going to bleed into the fiction. So that's all I'm saying is like, be aware that who you are is going to bleed into your work. I mean, I'm a African-American male. So whatever it is that I write, my culture is going, and my experiences are going to bleed through that pen. And I just think I think to pretend like that doesn't happen is more dangerous than what you're saying. And
then on top of it, people, fiction or not, want to see stories that reflect people and situations that look like them and that they could relate to sometimes, because people, sometimes act like Rakai was saying at first that, a story about people who don't look like them, like, oh, I can't relate to that because that's not my culture, which is not always true. It's most of the time not true at all. But people need to see it and people want to see it. That's one of the main things that we have an issue with is that, like a lot of these stories, you're like that. I've never seen a person on TV that looks like me, or, certain kids had to wait till they got, almost an adult before they saw a story that related to something that even closely resembled their own life. But that's the beauty in stories and in having diverse people tell stories is that everybody can see something that they can relate to.
Okay. The problem is the human element. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem on both sides of the equation. So, like, for instance, H.T. Teddy said, what about interracial pairings? That's not possible in Star Wars. Of course it is. Of course it is. However, once you put people into the equation, and I don't know about other communities, but being that I come from a long line of high yellow folks,
Ooh, you're on the other side of the paper sack brown test. Look at you.
I am. Listen, here's the thing. When I brought the school that my kids go to, this little town is the beige capital of the world.
Not beige.
Yes, they've created more little Drakes down here than anywhere else.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. And somewhere along the line, some years ago, some parents who probably wasn't down with the swirl, then it pissed off their kid. They went 30 minutes down the road to the big city of Louisville, Kentucky. They found them a Tyrone, a Jamal, somebody, and brought back their little baby Drakes here. And now you had to deal with it because now you're a grandparent of this little thing that you couldn't stand. Like, you're going to deal with that shit. You live long enough, whatever hate, whatever bias you have, that shit will end up in your family. Yep. It's going to be in your family.
I'm not gonna lie. That's what made me laugh about
right back to
in high school. My vice principal, he sure had some issues with melanated people, and his granddaughter. That's all she liked. So, your grandbaby.
Take that.
Yep.
When I saw
that might not be a good reference these days.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It's not a good reference these days. That
brother. When I saw a picture of that man with all of his melanated grandchildren, oh, it was beautiful.
Let me appropriately
here's what I
say,
was gonna say.
no Diddy to my last comment appropriately now.
Yeah, pause.
It's definitely wow. It's a lot more weight to that phrase now.
No, a lot more weight to that phrase.
There's a lot more pulp.
Yeah, that man is the king of the freaks. Like he's a nasty mother sucker. Anyway,
4 days? 4 days? You ain't drinking no water? You was just freaking for 4. Okay, you're right. You're right. My bad. I'm off on the tangent. I'm sorry. Let's get back to storytelling.
No, here's what I was gonna say. So in our community, we have children who go through the hurt of not being white enough for this community, not being black enough for this community, and they're stuck in the middle. They damn fault. They couldn't help who their parents was and got together and loved each other and you know what I'm saying, pushed out a baby. But as people, we do this to kids, we do this to people, and they grow up with that stigma and that hurt. So can Stephen King write a story about, Watts, South Side of Chicago? Sure, he can. As long as we're dealing with a human emotion, because people get depressed everywhere. People fall in love everywhere. People get sad. People get fired from their jobs. As humans, we share a bunch of human things. The thing is, a good writer, once you start inserting yourself in it, you can't give me a Stephen King story and he's talking about this from the South Side of Chicago. And maybe he went on location. He did some scouting. He looked at it. But if you give it to Lena Waithe, you give it to Ryan Coogler, you give it to, a bunch of other people, then they're going to talk about Issa Rae. They're going to talk about how you went in the house and it smelled like cocoa butter and blue magic. You know what I'm saying? It smelled like pink oil. There's going to be certain things like, yeah, there's going to be certain things that, I'm saying, is like, I went in the house and it smelled like fried chicken and grape Kool-Aid and watermelon. Get that shit out of here. We know when you putting on, we know the difference in culture. It's just like, I could write a story about the human emotion. Say I want to write about the Irish culture, some Irish Americans. There's only so far I can go with that because I don't know the references, the stuff that people within that culture be like, oh yeah. We were just talking about that. We were just talking about The Wire, which if you guys are not watching the reactions that Syntell and Leo are doing to The Wire, one of the greatest shows in American history. The cast of The Wire, 4 or 5 of the guys from The Wire were on the Breakfast Club this morning. And just like, as 23 years since it came out. It's 23 years ago that it came out. And they were just talking about things about how only people from Baltimore would really know. And they had complaints about the Baltimore accent from some of them guys who are from New York City. And they're like, nah, that ain't it. There was a few of those dudes who were from DC. So they're like, okay, yours passed. They even talked about how Idris would be on set and he kind of sounded like a New York dude. And then he would sometimes slip into the Baltimore accent. But then it said, it is like, okay, cut. And he's walking back to his trailer. He turned around and say something. Like, was that a damn British accent? And it's things in culture. If you're going to write it and put references in it from whatever culture, you need to have people from that culture in there to get it right. There was a show that came on that pissed me off. Marvel did a show called Echo. She was a Native American and she was Sioux. I think it was the Sioux Nation. Maybe, I don't think it was Choctaw. I think it was the Sioux Nation. And they did a huge reception and everything for that in Oklahoma on a reservation because Marvel was trying to, be gracious. Like, listen, we are focusing, we're showcasing this is part of this character's heritage, and we want to make sure we get it right. Problem I had with the show is I don't know if they got it right. I think they, put window dressing on it. They put stuff from the town and stuff in the background and said, okay, this character is from this Sioux Nation and she meets and she talks to other people, but it didn't smell. It didn't feel like it's from their culture. Now, who am I? I'm not Sioux. I'm not from that nation of Native Americans. So they were happy. They're like, shit, somebody's telling our stories.
Somebody's
it don't matter.
trying. Yeah.
It don't matter if you didn't get it right.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if you didn't get it all the way right.
Tried.
Yeah, you tried. And we're glad that we got the spotlight on us just for a little bit. We cool. And that's kind of what we were saying here. Like, to Michael's point, I get it. Writers just write. You write fiction and everybody can write this. And I know this. I know pain. I know suffering. I know love. I know honesty. I know betrayal. I can write that. But if I'm going to write it from this lens, from my culture or from another one's, I need to have some people in a room that can help me make sure that that is presented correctly.
Yeah. Michael retorted, said, as a gay white male, I grew up watching Doctor Who and other content, which was written by straight white men. And didn't make me enjoy it any less or make it any less creative or inspiring.
Which is the whole point for this discussion. I mean, we keep talking about this. So you can see any of our reactions, all of my deep dives. We love Doctor Who. We are Whovians. And I have not been pissed off that it was David Tennant and not Ncuti for 10 seasons that we watch now. you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Ncuti's cool. He's cool.
It's also
I like
about
it. That's
the world
what brought
that
us
it's
here.
set in too. It's also about the world that it's set in. Like it's set in a place that doesn't actually exist. So it's creative and it's beautiful. That's fine. But that's also everybody's personal opinion. All of this is everybody's personal opinion. Like.
And I'm okay with seeing the Doctor.
Right.
Whoever he regenerates into
whoever
this
they
week,
want him to be. Because I'm still watching.
Go out into the world and see everything that encompasses the human experience.
Yeah.
And honestly, I am glad that I got to see David Tennant. I'm glad that we got Matt Smith. I'm glad that we got Christopher Eccleston. I am so glad that we got Peter Capaldi. Because then you talk about all these things. You talk about, you know what I'm saying? Remember, they hated Matt Smith. He was too young to be the Doctor. They hated
my
him.
Favorite.
Every Doctor is too something for the fans.
Every Doctor that comes along is too something. You know what I'm saying? It's not hard to figure out what the current Doctor, what he's too of. He's the two of a whole lot of shit. They're like, I don't like his ass. Because he is an openly, it's not like he can hide being black, but he's an openly black, Scottish, queer gentleman. I think he's Scottish and something else, but I think he's didn't he immigrate to Scotland or somewhere from he came from Rwanda, didn't he? Like during like Hotel Rwanda, like during the I think he came.
Oh, now that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, he certainly has a very
his people
background. Yeah.
His people fled the persecution that was going on. He's
Rwandan. Yep.
Yeah. See, right. and that's how he ended up there. And he grew up. He's been there his rest of his entire life. I think he came at a very young age, but See,
but even that little bit of story, that opens up a whole world of understanding. Like, I'm not sure if he was around to witness those massacres. I don't know. I don't know how that timeline works, or if he knows somebody that actively participated in. But can you imagine if you're, like a method type actor and you were really like embodying these characters and you have that type of genocide in the back of your head, you drop some tears pretty quickly.
Probably where he draws the Denzel's from.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's why that's important, of who the storyteller is. Ncuti is telling the story through his tool of his body based off of experiences in the past and things that have affected his family. So now I have a better understanding of why he's able to drop those tears all the time. I can't imagine living through those traumas, or somebody that I love telling me the stories of living through that level of trauma. Yeah, it would probably trigger me to be a lot more heightened emotionally than, say, somebody who hasn't experienced that.
Here's another thing that's interesting, and you're talking about, saying, especially like being a method actor. In the movie in Sinners, now I know that this was said from a sexual point of view, but Annie said to Smoke, she said, and she actually said it in the patois, the Creole patois. She said, "Your body remembers me."
That was a bar. That was a bar. I was like, ooh, that was hot. That was hot.
That was, and you know, on the surface, you take it for, you be like, yeah, well, my body remember you too, girl. I don't know you, but it know you try to see what that be like. You know, maybe, but I also took it. All right, let's go deeper. Okay, your body remembers me, and that was just what you were just talking about the sum total of your experience. Even if he left, he was not there. He didn't personally witness many or the entirety of the genocides. I'm thinking like Avatar, The Last Airbender, how he was able, once he became the Avatar, he was able to absorb all of the legacy, all of the stories, everything that was in every previous Avatar. And part of that can be in your DNA. You don't know it. And there's a lot of things that show up and you don't know, where somebody be like, boy, you act just like your uncle. Somebody you ain't never even met. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because it's in your DNA. And sometimes there's things that trigger you. Sometimes there's things that get unlocked or whatever. And it's just part of your lineage. And that's why it's important to even discover what that lineage is, because you don't know about genetic things, you know, as far as health wise that are in your lineage. There are certain things about, well, you know, my great granddaddy was a this and he was, you know, always this. And you're like, it can explain certain things about you. Like, maybe that's why I do X, Y, and Z. But it's already a part of you. And the thing is, the more experiences that you have, that people in your family have had, in Sinners, even in this, and we were talking about the story in the engine, they talked about the griot, and the griot's point was they were a historian. They gathered all the stories and they told the stories to make sure it's always passed down, that people knew what was happening because it was part of your story. Even if it wasn't directly attuned to you, it was part of your story, because it was part of the story of your village. It's part of the story of your people. It's a part of the story of your culture, of your tribe. That could be the same for us today. However, we are so disconnected from the story of our own lives, not only the one that, you know, was born out of slavery, and many of us don't have any real knowledge of what our personal lineage is. But then there's so many distractions. Media, the internet, cable TV. I remember, yes, I'm old. I remember when the TV actually cut the hell off. You know, you hear the damn the
national anthem play at the end, the flag go down, the TV turn off.
Yeah, TV, that fuzz and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Don't go into the light, Caroline. Like, shit cut off. You know, and now that nothing cuts off anymore. It's keep you distracted. So it just, I thought that was an interesting thing. I'm sorry, I get off my soapbox now.
No, it's you know, your body remembers me. It's in you. Yeah, that thing. Yeah, you can't.
That's a bar.
You can't run from this. This is in you.
This is in you.
That's a little before my time. We had Nick at Night. Yeah, Mark, we kind of long in the tooth a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a tad bit. I'm a little vintage. I'm a little vintage.
Let's see. Frank, I didn't even ask you how you felt about the story in the engine. I think you're the last person to kind of like chime in on this regarding.
I have obviously a slightly different perspective because I don't relate to the stories that being told in the episode, but that's where I think there's a lot of beauty in it, because it was really intelligently written to where, while I don't relate to any of the stories, I was able to connect with every single one of them on an emotional level and form deeper understanding and appreciation for like a life that wasn't my own, like just being able to experience the world from a different lens.
I think that's what's important too, because, you know what I'm saying, like a lot of the stuff that, you know, happens in whatever in Nigeria, the particular part of Nigeria, which from what I understand in real life, they filmed all of that somewhere in England. That whole shit.
It was all soundstage.
They built the set, yeah. They built the set and they filmed that there. However, I do think there were actual drone shots that were done. You know, I don't know if they got it as be real, but there were actual drone shots of Lagos that they used to give you the sense of, but you know, whatever they budget, ooh, we can actually take a trip and the show will be 4 minutes, or we just shoot it back here and do a whole show. So I don't know. I think one of the things that was important about that show is, you know, it's Doctor Who. So Doctor Who, when he was getting ready to sit in the chair, when 15 was about to sit in the chair, he's like, I know what y'all want to hear. Y'all want to hear the story about ice warriors and weeping angels and Daleks? No. I'm going to tell you a story about the human experience. And he told a story about Belinda. Who can't relate to that? You know what I'm saying? She was off work. She was on her way to her gams, to her grandmother's birthday party or whatever. And the doctor pulled it in and, you know what I'm saying, basically put it in her lap. You got to say, this is your patient now. You want to save her life? You got this. And she missed her grandmother's party, you know what I'm saying, because work came up. And, you know, of course, the kind of work she do, she's a nurse. So somebody's life was actually in her hands. And she made a choice. What if her grandmother didn't make it? Her grandmother's like, oh, this party's beautiful. Blew out her candles and, you know what I'm saying, grand opening, grand closing. She still made a choice. All of us can relate to that. I've never been a nurse or a doctor. I've never had someone's life in my hands in that way. Right. But I could relate to Belinda's story. I could relate to, you know, the other guy said that they came to see Omo. One said he came, he wanted a haircut before he went to his child's naming ceremony. Yep. The other dude said he was going to visit his mother in the old folks home or the hospital. And he wanted, he was borrowing some money or whatever from Omo. And he came to get a haircut first. The other dude said he was on his way to a track meet. He knew he was going to kill him. He's out here about to get that first place medal. I need a fresh cut so I can look good as soon as I go across this line. Whatever their reason was, I can relate to that. Those are conditions of the human experience. Anytime you take yourself out of it and be like, well, I've been to the hospital and but I can't relate to the story because their skin is different than mine. There's something wrong with you. Yeah. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah, I think I've said this a million times before, and I'm gonna continue to say it. I challenge everybody here to watch international content because if you're incapable of actually, you know, traveling the world and seeing things firsthand, that's always the number one thing. If you possibly can, you need to get off your front porch. You need to just experience something that is foreign to you, right? However that may look. But if you can't, you know, a good cheap way is to watch some international projects, something that is out of your echo chamber of hearing the same thing and hearing things, seeing things from a different perspective, hearing different stories. It really does change just the way you see story in general, just in general. So it's so and you don't have to be. I don't have to be a samurai to watch a samurai tale to really enjoy the story of Seven Samurai. I don't have to be, you know, Japanese for that. You know, I can still understand the struggle. You know, I don't have to have been through the genocide to appreciate Hotel Rwanda. You know, you can have an emotional moment, and so that's my thing. Just watch some other stuff that is out of your comfort zone.
Because the Koreans out here killing it.
Yeah, South Korea. I'm not South Korean at all, and I love their stories. Love it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know, and it's funny because you said that you was like, I don't have to be a samurai to know this. I was like, but it's so weird to me that people, you know what I'm saying, not my samurai. They can't accept Yasuke, who was a real samurai. Whatever you say, you know what I'm saying, oh, he wasn't a real samurai. He was a samurai assistant, whatever the hell you gonna say. He's an actual person that exists in history and was taken by Nodo Abunaga. But we supposed to we supposed to just be okay and accept Tom Cruise when he was the last time?
Nobody would say nothing then, right? Nobody.
Or maybe
not only that, he was the
Keanu
last.
Reeves.
He was the last one. Or maybe we're supposed to be a-okay when Matt Damon was saving us from the demons and shit, and they was trying to take over the wall of China, like, you know.
Nobody had nothing to say that.
Nobody had nothing to say that.
That is funny.
No, that's completely believable. But this one guy who actually existed
in the world, like, yeah, he was a real person. And they're like, nah, that's not right.
Not my samurai.
No, we don't believe a black guy was a samurai. And I've never seen a movie with a female ninja. That didn't exist.
I'm like, oh, really? Okay. All right. I'm fine.
Here's
my last question before we wrap this up. All right.
My bad. We're at the hour 44. I'm horrible. I'm a horrible timekeeper.
I've been watching.
You're the person with time blindness, really?
Yeah, I know.
That's who keeps time.
Who gave me to watch? Whose bright idea was that?
He's like, we having such a good time. I don't see nothing.
I got time blindness too, so I sympathize.
Oh, so wait, none of us. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, you playing.
No, the whole time I'm over here watching the clock. I was like, okay, we've been.
I've trained myself to constantly look at the clock because otherwise a whole year will pass.
I watch the clock because I'm a yapper. I won't shut up. So, all right. So my last question is to everybody.
What's up?
All right. If we consider the possibility of rewriting
Okay.
or challenging negative narratives and legacies, both in fiction and in our own lives, what examples do these stories offer, or could they offer to the process? Remember, we're talking about challenging not only negative narratives in fiction, in what we watch, what we do, the games we play, whatever, but in our own lives. How can these stories help us do that?
The first thing that came to mind, the very first thing, I'm just shooting off the cuff, was a Lovecraft Country, right?
Ooh.
It's a H.P. Lovecraft project, but it's told from, were they in New York? Before they take off on this journey. And so it's a black horror film that H.P. Lovecraft
They're in Chicago.
In Chicago, that's where it was. Yeah,
because remember, because Emmett Till.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, Lord.
And H.P. Lovecraft, who I think is a brilliant writer. I know, his real life is questionable, but his real life, I mean, his art and dealing into the subconscious of how your mind can slowly degrade into a space of like chaos and insanity, right? Like what does that look like for Black folk? Because we're culturally different than we're not Chinese, we're not white, we're not East Indian or anything. I mean, Indian or anything like that. What does that look like? What does what is that slow push into insanity feel like? And then add trauma. It adds like the Tulsa riots that happened in there. It had that cool little moment in that. Like those kind of traumas affect us. So if you're telling like that kind of story, like most times if you hear H.P. Lovecraft, you're not really gonna move. The first thought isn't gonna be to like Black folks from Chicago. That's just not where you typically goes. But because it did, it added such a whole new spin and a whole new spice as to what that looks like when it affects us as a community. That's one of the first things. So I would take from that is that you can get whole new different levels of one idea just based off of culture. I'm sure that looks different if we would have shot that in South Korea, or if we'd have shot that in Brazil, or we would have shot that in Madagascar, that whole slow process. And it adds a whole new idea of what that horror looks like. And that is why it's important. It's not just one washed out way of thinking of how you respond to that.
Here's what I'm going to say. One of the greatest small speeches in cinema to me, when was it A Time to Kill? Oh. Matthew McConaughey gave
I know what you're talking about.
Fantastic speech in court about the atrocities that happened to this little girl, and he laid it out there in detail. And he let the entire jury, and he just talked about what happened to a little girl. Let you picture it in your mind. This little girl walking home from school, and she's dragged, and she's done this, and these grown-ass men breathing their hot, stinking, sweaty beer breath on her. He laid it all the way out, and then flipped it on their ass at the end and said, now imagine she was white.
Everybody, yeah.
Because everyone got it. They knew who we were talking about. They knew what happened. But then when he laid it out in detail, what really happened, and now he had to point out to you, if you can't see the problem with this, okay, now imagine it was your daughter. And that's kind of the type of stuff like that doesn't happen often, because it seems like we need a twist. We need a little thing. But the point of that wasn't to get a twist. It wasn't to try to trick the jury. That was try to get them to put the actual, see if someone else's shoe actually fits your foot. You have to see why can't you connect? Why can't you see the story? Why is it not a travesty what happened to this little girl? It's a little girl. So whatever biases you have towards this group of people, remove that. This happened to a little girl. See that. And I think that when we get into these stories, you know, you talking about Lovecraft Country is powerful, because like you said, his personal life, beyond questionable. He had his own bias and racist and, you know, whatever, misogynist, sexist, classist, whatever ism you want to talk about.
Right.
You know, as many people do. You know, and I know that people don't think that, you know, Black people, you can't be racist. Yes, the hell they can. Everybody can be everybody can be one of the ist, or many of the ist, all at the same time. There's a lot of people that, you know what I'm saying, they classification as human starts at asshole and doesn't really, you know, it doesn't get higher than that. They are on the way down.
One of the biggest life lessons I've had to learn is that I have no hate or discrimination against anybody, but I still have moments where I can present as racist and say things that would fall into racism due to exposure to people who have been.
Okay.
I think we all do, for real. And it may not be just racist or classist, misogynist, you know, people that have a disparaging thing about the LGBTQ community, even though you better not say that out loud, they will get your ass, boy. You better not. I'm trying to tell you, people of the LGBT community and Jewish people, I don't know who they got on speed dial. They will get your monkey ass. Don't you say nothing about them. You better shut that up. You take it to your grave. Don't you say shit about them. They will get you.
I had one more little small example that I thought did a really good job of responsible storytelling by changing culture. There's a little movie that I loved called I think it was called Prey. It was a Predator movie.
Yeah.
And they did it, you know, it was a period piece, and it dealt with Native Americans.
It was beautifully handled.
Yeah, and it was excellent. And I was like, wow, okay. I would have never in a million years been like, before it came out, been like, yeah, let's make some Predator period piece, you know. But then you get to see her why as to how she overcomes this foe, you know.
That's not what I've been thinking about. If I said, yeah, you want to watch a movie with subtitles, that is not what I've been thinking.
Yeah, and it was like in Choctaw or something like that, right? Like there was I don't know the dialect. I'm probably absolutely wrong on that. But I
think it was Comanche.
Comanche, is that what it was?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah. But that's just a good way of like switching it up, you know, and then it's still being, you know, hopefully culturally accurate. I'm assuming it was culturally accurate, you know. But and it's science fiction, you know. Now if you were to get like, you know, some dude from Ecuador to write that for Native Americans, it probably would translate as well or whatever. So that's why it's important, you know, to have like the proper storyteller when you're going to tell that story, and that science fiction.
I do have a question for you on the topic of cultural translation for adapting a story. Based on the strength of the first episode of Forever, how do you feel that works for you?
The first episode of Forever, I love it. If you're not watching Forever, wow, I can let me be. We've only seen one episode of Forever. Me and Ricardo have only watched one episode of Forever. But the voice is loud and clear to me as a parent. And I'd be curious to know how that voice sounds if you're a teenager watching this. It's the story of two high school kids who are going to fall in love and what the things they're going to have to kind of like overcome. But it's set in, you know, part in the hood, part in the affluent of a family living in a house in the hills. It feels very, I'm not going to say Romeo and Juliet. I'm not going to say that because it's not that kind of, well, at least from what we've seen in episode 1, I don't think so. But it's very, you can tell from the tone and the music to the way that they light the people, because we have to be lit a little bit differently, from the way that they light the people to the stories being told. You could tell that it came from the culture. I don't know if that story gets told in the same way with that same space of love if you're not of the culture. So yeah, it's important.
Now, here's what I would say about that. That story, or this adaptation of the story, is told from the culture.
Tell them who wrote it. Tell them
because the story itself resonates, because it's a human story. It's a human story that was written in 1975 by Judy Blume. There's a Judy Blume book called Forever.
Yeah.
You know, so, and, you know, I don't know if they still reading Judy Blume in middle schools and high schools today, but I read that book in middle school.
Yeah. In case you don't know, it's a white woman. I think she's white.
Yes,
she look white.
Very.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So it's a white woman who's built the foundation of this story, but now you have people of color or people of the culture that is reimagining this story, and you can tell that flavor is in there.
Yeah, but her original story, I knew it. I felt it almost as they changed the names, they changed the backgrounds, they changed the location, they changed a lot of things to make it more modern, make it more current, to make it of the culture. And the story still resonated with me. I was like, I know this story, because at the end of the day, a good story is a good story.
The facts. That is
I don't give a damn who tells it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. That's the thing. And maybe we are super forgiving as a culture. I think one of the worst things I could ever hear someone say to me is another person who's not of the culture say, "But I don't see color." There's something wrong with you. Something wrong with your eyes. You colorblind. What is wrong with you? Because you can't tell me you don't see the culture, because then you don't see me. I come with a certain number of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, my hair happens to be locked up. Let me ask you, because if you know about the culture, you know, first thing, I don't give a shit how fascinated you are. Don't you ask to touch my goddamn hair.
Don't do it.
Don't you put your hands in my head, and don't ask to
do it.
Can I just touch it? Oh,
no, it's hair. Shut up.
Yeah, no. You know, but that's things that you have to understand, and you have to understand about the culture. I cannot go to. I remember when I was in the Middle East. Listen, we had to sit down with a cultural attaché to tell us certain things that you can and cannot do as an American in the Middle East, which is something as simple as don't wave at nobody with your left hand.
Nope.
You don't take your left hand and wave people. Hey, how you doing? Shit, you just committed capital crime. And there was, and
public space protection are not a thing either. Like, don't do that. I'm kissing people.
The brothers had no problem. It was like no left hand. Got it.
Bad.
It was the other folks that was like that. They was indignant. They was like, wait a minute. You know what? I don't care whose country I'm in. I'm an American. You don't tell me what to do. We over here fighting for their freedom. I can wave at them with any goddamn hand I want to.
Okay.
It's like,
go to jail if you want to.
Do it, dummy.
That's because black people are always spatially aware. Always. We are always aware of our environment.
Have to be. In our DNA where we have to be.
You absolutely have to be. So if somebody says, hey, let me pull your coattail.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you something that's gonna save your life. We definitely pay attention. You have to. So
and I think that's.
I remember the first time I had to go somewhere and like people were talking about somebody misbehaving. They were like, "Oh, they're probably American." I was like, "What?"
The whole world thinks that.
Nah, they were probably American. I cracked up so
because
hard.
the whole world is damn near right every time. When
I tell me what I can and can't do, you'd be like,
that's what I said. I was like, I want to live in a place where they don't care that my kid is brown. They're looking at us more so because we're American than because we're brown.
When I lived in Germany, if there was a car accident, at no time did you think somebody German was in a car accident. It was like American.
I love that.
I got the opposite once where I was in Cuba and they just assumed I was Canadian right off the bat because I looked and presented American, but I was nice. They're like, you must be Canadian.
So crazy.
It's like, he's Canadian for real. We never heard him say a boot. He didn't talk about maple syrup all the time. What kind of Canadian are you? Like,
that is funny. Oh, man.
No, I think to what we're just saying about forever Lovecraft Country. Really, the thing is, a good story is going to be a good story. If you've heard me and Syntell say 1,000 times, story and the villain of the story. What can you give me? I don't care who's in it. Aliens. You see, we love Doctor Who. We Whovians, aliens, whatever race of people you are, whatever your particular sexual orientation, whatever, that's your business. Tell me a good damn story. Now there's some stuff I may not want to watch. As we've had people show up in the comments, y'all need to watch this. Listen, my guy, that right there don't appeal to me. I just, you know what I'm saying? It's just, there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so much stuff I can or will watch. That one ain't it. It's just like, everybody might love them or whatever. I don't do horror movies. I try to avoid them just like the plague. And here comes Syntell. Hey, let's watch this one. You'll like it. We're in high school. He'd be trying to hit me with the peer pressure. It's not that bad for real. It's only 17, 18 jump scares. You'll barely even know this. So,
you be all right yourself, right?
You tough. You big brother. You be all right.
You all right.
That's so funny. And on the other end, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Yeah. Like nothing you can say to me right now will make me watch this movie. You could tell me I was gonna get shot if I watch this movie, and I'm probably still not gonna watch it.
You just tell me to watch something, I'll watch anything.
See, me and Frank are in that category.
But again, that's here's a shameless plug for Syntell's Patreon and for the Discord, because I trust our community. I trust our tribe. Syntell be trying to get me a couple times too, because it's good content. He see me, saying jumping out of my damn seat and cover my face and falling out the chair. He's like, ooh, look at the views now. I know it. I don't even
sound like you don't be out here sullying my good name.
You really do though.
Listen, when they come to that, he'd be over with his hairless cat, just like, I shall bend him to my will. Yeah, okay. I get it. It's good content. I get it, and I can't even front. It is. And we watched Alien and Aliens. Them shits was good. They will never be on my damn TV set again, but we did it. We got through it. I watched Get Out. It's not a traditional horror. It's a psychological horror. And for me, as a brother of the melanated community, I ain't never watching that shit again. It's like watching Sinners. Like, to this day, I watched Sinners a month ago. If you show up on my door, which, for one, culturally, don't show up on my goddamn door unannounced. Don't you come over here. I'll give a damn if my mama show up to my house unannounced. Because if my mama for real, you would know you don't show up to my house unannounced. You ain't getting in here. Don't ask to come in. If I open the door and you can't just walk your ass in, I'm shut the damn door. You ain't coming here. I know. Everybody's a vampire to me these days. No, you cannot get in there.
But I'm your
Can I come in? Can you?
No, mama.
Can you?
I don't think so.
No. Here, eat this garlic.
Oh.
All right, y'all. Listen,
Yeah,
I didn't have fun with y'all. Y'all crazy. Yeah. I can't with y'all. Just trying to have a serious intellectual conversation over here. I can't focus. This damn Mark.
Mark been on one today.
He's in the comments.
Yeah, he is
listen,
on one.
Listen, right here. This one right here about took me out. He said his homophobia was cured when he went to college. His gay roommate was built like Lawrence Taylor. He said, "You know what? Y'all right. All right."
Oh my God!
My God! I read that. Somebody was talking. Syntell, you might be talking. I read that. I almost bust out laughing. I was like,
oh God, that's hilarious. And adorable.
Yeah, but he's right. He is right. You're gonna run up, you're gonna talk that wrong stuff to the wrong person. You're gonna be like, they didn't come in the package you thought they was gonna come in. You thought they was all gonna have a feather bow on and talk about no. It's gonna be that brother in the locker next to you. Like, oh really? I'm about to learn about prison on the football team. No sir.
So stupid. Lord.
Anyway, I live in that. Oh my God. Anyway, thank you as always. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Sherelle, coming through. Frank, yes. Any last remarks, sir?
You're all crazy. I love you guys.
We try. Sherelle, any last remarks, dear?
Not really. This is fun.
There's Sherelle. I swear.
All the things I was like, I have to keep my mouth shut a lot.
I can't wait for sure. Just so y'all know, publicly, Sherelle will be making content.
Yep.
Sherelle will be making content.
We absolutely expect for everyone
to show some love.
I know everyone who fools with Syntell, all 7 million of them people. I'm still waiting on y'all to hit my subscribe button, but that's okay. Listen, come on through. When you get here, it doesn't matter. You family, come on in. But I'm still waiting on your ass though. I ain't forgot. But if you fool with Syntell, if you fool with me, if you fool with Frank, if you fool with Sherelle, we all expect for once Sherelle drops her content, for you hit that subscribe button, for you hit the like button, for you to comment, for you to share.
Day one.
Nope.
I don't even know what it's going to be about yet, but it's going to be worth it.
I know it's going to be off the chain, whatever it is.
I can't wait. I already know it's going to be something that's going to be a clutch to pearl moment. It's like, oh, my God.
She just needs to hit record whenever it's talking to me about whatever's the heck.
Oh God, story. No, that cannot. Half of that cannot go out.
She'd have had some great content if we just like after this goes off, if we just hit the record button and let her go. Listen, that shit would be fantastic.
Yeah, the after hours.
You know how many times I probably would have been canceled by now.
Probably the green room. The green room is off the chain. You don't know what you're gonna do.
There's far worse people not getting canceled, so I think we're good.
Yeah. All right, Syntell, my boy, you got any last remarks?
Yeah, quick plug. If you haven't gone over to Rakai's page, hit the subscription button, like for real. The deep dives are great. Show some love to the Patreon, for real. In case you didn't know, Frank has been hopping on here with me, and we've been knocking out From. From has been great. It's been, first off, shout out to the From fan base. Y'all have been, you get to see Frank in rare form, and we get to chop it up. Somebody in the chat said something earlier. They were saying Frank does a very good job of cooling me down because I be bouncing all over the place. And Ray be like, I need you to chill out and watch the screen because something important is happening.
And I'll remind you of when you forget.
yeah, exactly. So it is tons of fun. Rakai and I will be putting out Forever relatively shortly. It's actually done, but I don't think we're gonna post until this weekend and maybe at least get a couple more. But From is coming. Michael Clare and I we're still been doing on the Tyler Perry kick. It's been interesting to say the least. And let's see. We just finished up Andor. We got supercuts coming. The first Andor supercut just dropped today, so we're gonna be, in case there's any old projects that was in our catalog that you wanted to see kind of quickly, that's what the supercuts are going to be for. So you'll be seeing a lot more of those, and you will be seeing me with my foot square in Sherelle ass if she don't get this content going.
Oh God, Lord.
It's coming from a place of love. So that's it. Those only one. Oh, show some love to the Geekish Network as well. Binge-worthy this Wednesday is we're doing Andor. I'm not sure. Well, it's to be
probably.
Is
Chuck gonna be there? Lord Jesus.
You'll be there hating. Yes.
One more big one. If you did want to see the Frank and I actually record live, Patreon members get a special section of the Discord. You can watch us do these lives. Frank, we do 4. We knock out like 4 episodes. Yeah. We have full blown like binge outs.
Typically on Sundays,
Sunday mornings.
We hit on average 2 to 4.
Yeah, at least that. So if you wanted to get that,
if it wasn't Mother's Day, I would have said 6.
Yeah, you get my butt kicked. No way.
So you want to see some horror? Here's some real horror.
It'll be some real horror. The Wire.
Black eye.
I know, golly, I can't believe I'm over here spitting all this stuff. It's just a lot of work that's been happening. The Wire, it will be tomorrow. Me and Leah will be knocking out the final 2 episodes of The Wire tomorrow.
I love showing up to The Wire reactions.
The Wire is great. Yeah. On Saturday evening, Frank will be having a watch of Chuchi's Doctor Who.
Saturday dead in the morning.
It's early. It is early. For those of y'all across the pond, y'all be straight. Sunday evening, Rakai and I start our journey into Chuchi's Who at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then as soon as we get done with that, we hop directly into The Last of Us. Wow, that is a lot.
Hold on.
Going on.
You're not done. Hold on.
What else?
All right. So just Syntell and Frank are doing From. Syntell and Leah are doing The Wire.
Yep.
You got Frank who'll do Doctor Who as soon as it comes out Saturday morning in the Discord. So you definitely need to be in the Discord.
On the minutes, so be on time.
He ain't right on time. No Niger time, no CP.
No be on CP time.
I'm as white as I get. So
unless your CP time means Canadian people time, you better be on time, goddamn. But then you got, so let's see. So me and Syntell Sundays we'll do the new Disney Doctor Who. We'll do The Last of Us. We're on hiatus for another week or 2 before we jump into season 10 of Doctor Who again with 12 with Peter Capaldi. We are doing the studio. Which we're just about finished with the studio. We got like an episode or 2 of that left. We're done with the studio. We had just finished Andor. We have Mobland.
Mobland is still good.
We got a couple episodes of that left. 2 or 3 episodes of Mobland left. We're doing Forever. And we just started that, and there's 10 of those. And then we have some movies. We got some other stuff coming up. Like we stayed
4 movies in the can already. Yeah, it's
that's right. Take that Addison, eat your heart out. No, I'm lying. I ain't barely keep up. I'm up all night. That's why I'm up. And insomnia. I'm thinking about editing shit in my sleep. I just wake up, cap cut. Oh shit. Damn it. That's why y'all need to come to my Patreon. I need some shekels. I need to hire some damn editors. I can't keep up. Listen, at any rate, thank you, everyone. I cannot say this enough. The journey keeps going. We are fortunate to be content creators, even though it's not a role that I ever saw myself being in. I am so thankful that I'm here now. We here now. The power of the word is important, and we do understand the role, the responsibility that we have, that what we put out into the world is going to come back to you. Now, how it comes back to you, that's up to you. You choose to invite them troubles into your life. So if you're fortunate enough to be like me, you can surround yourself with good people like Frank, Sherelle, Syntell, Randy, Courtney, Catherine, Chuck, You know, all the many other people that are in the Discord is far too many to name. We get a chance to do this every week, and if you check the comments, you know, we keep it a buck, we keep it 100. You know, maybe you don't like what we put out, what we said. Okay, give a shit. You know, I'm gonna respond to you. I'm gonna respond, and you know, what I'm saying, you might catch me one of those days. I got time today. You know, Syntell always says that I take your time. Listen, you might not want me to have no time. You might want me to be like, thank you for your comment, keep it pushing. You might get this work. At any rate, I appreciate you dropping to the Patreon. I'm trying to get back to where I'm dropping videos early. All right, as always, keep coming to the YouTube, mine and Syntell's. Like, there's a lot of content rolling off on a weekly basis. I've started taking my long forms and dropping them and cutting them into shorts, which is an interesting journey. Because a lot of people are coming across my shorts on TikTok or Instagram, and they don't have a real context. They don't know what video that came from. And they'd be like, what you talking about? And I was like, hey, just click it right there. It says what video came. Yeah, right. Just at any rate, again, thank y'all. Remember, everything that we watch, we use this. Yes, but it's even more important that we have these discussions and we all use this. Thank you, all of you chefs.
Hey, thank you, chef.
All right. And we will see y'all next time, you know, next week, same time, same channel. So you got on the Syntell's, you got on mine. Keep doing it. We'll be here. See y'all.